Hello there and welcome back. Today I want to talk about the Moog Mavis. So first, let me thank Moog for sending this unit to try. I had the chance to try one back in May at Superboot in a super cool private event, and I think that this is a very interesting module. It's sold actually with its own case, so it can be a standalone synth, or it can be integrated in your eurorack. So what I did is actually build a system around it. It's a kind of a simple synth voice that has everything you need plus some other utilities, very good utilities like an attenuator, a mixer, and then it has the new things that Moog never had, that is a wave folder. And I thought I want to record an EP, an album, just using this, and in this system that I will explain to you, this is the only actual voice. So I kinda enjoy to produce music like that, to simplify the eurorack system, because to me eurorack is still a word of too many possibilities. So having just one voice and many other things to create modulation, to create texture, is what makes me really excited. That said, before going on and tell you what's happening here, the usual way you can support this page: you can subscribe to this channel, you can share this content, and this is super free and easy. Then you can buy from the affiliate link down below, or you can become a Patreon. On Patreon, I go more in depth. I do one-on-one session, I reply to all of your questions, so on and on and on. And of course, that is the best way to support me. All right, so before getting into the Moog, what's happening in this system? This is thought to be a self-contained system that allows me to create simple tunes, and then with all the effects and all the modulation, add to simple sequences something interesting. Back in the day when I did my subharmonicon EP, I kinda used the same concept. I had only the subharmonicon and effect. In this case, I decided to do mostly the same. So let me go through it very fast. I have Pamela Workout, that is the clock originator that sends clock to all of the other thing, and the Usta, that is my sequencer. Usta is a stage sequencer from Frap tools. I really love it. It's very great for happy accident and live performances and improvisation. So the Usta is sequencing the Mavis, and then the Mavis, I send the signal, the clean signal, to the buff mult here of 4MS, and then from there I have a clean signal again that is multiplied into the Befaco mixer. Then I have another signal that is sent to the this 4 effect here. So basically it goes into the Mimeophon, then it goes into the beats, then into Databender, and then into Morphagene. And it has another channel here. Actually, Databender is the last one. So it's Mimeophon, beats, Morphagene, Databender. And then I have another line of audio that goes into the Xaoc and back into the mixer. From the mixer, straight into my audio card, sound card. And mostly that's it. I have a Ord from Instruo that do some LFO, but I'm not using it for this demonstration. I have Just Friend, that is, I'm using it as a function generator. I don't know if I'm gonna use it because that's a pretty complex thing, but all the other things you already hear in this little demo I was doing before. And also I'm learning how to use Xaoc that I just received from Chaos or Xaoc, I don't know. ever how to call them, and sometimes I use Zadar for other modulation. Okay, this is what this system is. So super simple. The idea is like I have only one voice. I can record on the fly on the Morphagene to create other texture or drone behind my sequences. And I can save as many sequences as I want in the Usta, but I love to use the Usta with the starting sequence and then add or mangle it. And you know, I can play for an hour and never know where I'm gonna end up. So before just unplug everything, let's listen what was happening here. So this is the simple sequence that's going now. There's some wave folding happening. There's some slow modulation happening in the cutoff. Super simple. And mostly this is like you have two waves, like the square and sawtooth. You have pull suite, and then this wave folder. And this is a real new thing on the, because Moog so far never had to his module the wave folder. So it's something that had the sonic palette of a classic Moog sound. For the rest, it's a very classic, smooth Moog sound. And let me be honest, with all the patch point, you can get very, very interesting out of the Moog kind of backyard sound. But there's so many other cool review that really goes very in depth with this tool, and I want to just talk why I like it and how am I using it. And so I love simplicity, and I decide I'm gonna take these as a simple voices. Of course, use the patch point when I need it, but most of the things I want to do with my hand, and I want to use all the effect and see how I can create a synergy between all the modules. As usual, I'm not a master in the modular realm. I don't like to have too many modulation and set the machine to go, but I like to play with my hand. So the idea here is like having sequences and then play with the old effect and create something evolving, something interesting on the fly and with my own fingers. So again, let's listen. So this is the simple thing, but when you start adding to it, just, for example, the Mimeophon, let's see how cool it's become. So right now there's a few things going on. The Mimeophon, this is the clean signal, and with the repeat. This crunchiness that you hear, it's actually the beats. Beats has different modality, and this red one is like the one that deteriorates like a cassette, so we can turn it off, so we don't destroy the beautiful sound of the Moog too much. From here we can add some beats stuff, this glitchiness that I really like, and from here we are going into the data bender. So I just actually remembered that I changed something. So the full mixer goes inside the Morphagene, so I can record everything I'm doing with these other tools. So data bender also come out the new version, firmware, one of my favorite effect. Both I'm adding very little, but see how this make everything super interesting. And now I have the possibility to have the clean signal and had this sort of wet things going on. To this I can add the cost saline, that is a stereo frequency shifter. And I can add this sort of phasing nice effect. The trick here that how I decided to use this system is like, I can create a new splice. Now I can record in the Morphagene. All is synced to the tempo, so I can play rec when it's the right moment. Now it's recording. Let's record a full loop. And now I have the recording here. Here it is. One thing that I really don't like about the Morphagene is how hard. I hope make noise sooner or later. Make easier to get the octave, the green and white with this knob. It's so hard. So my idea is like, now I recorded everything I did there. I can make more longer recording, and usually you can tune it down. And here you can have something interesting, and you can play the two things together. And now you are ready to just go on and change your pattern and create a full set with all of these. Then record in the Morphagene, do transition, and on. And then, of course, you can use the Just Friend and other stuff to make modulation. But this, I think, is enough about the system. Now I want to talk about the Moog itself. So let's kill all the beautiful sound. And let's talk about it. First, let's unplug everything. All right. And we can also turn off the thing. So first, you have quite a lot of patching point. I didn't count how many. 24, I guess. 24, yes. You have a very simple keyboard here. And you have all of your basic system here. The keyboard gets reset based on the CV that you sent to him. So before was too high on pitch. The cool thing is like the keyboard, it has the regular 12 semitone thing, but also with keyboard scale you can get in different microtonal territories. And then you have a glide that. And the fun, interesting part is like you have a CV out from the keyboard. So it's interesting because with this you can control other synth voices. So somehow you have a controller very handy, very small, but very handy at your hand. Of course, what happened? You have the first part here that is the utility. You have the wave folder, you have one level, and this is basically, it's a mixer between two input that you can use here, so 1 and 2. And then you have an attenuator. An attenuator that is here, so you can send here and attenuate from attenuator plus. You can send and attenuate your signal. Then you have a multiple here, and it divide in 2. That's pretty cool. Another interesting thing is like if nothing is plugged into the attenuator, for example, it send a 0 to +5 volt signal. So you can use itself to attenuate something else or to send some voltage, control voltage to any other things. And then you have also here a -5 volt using the one level if nothing is plugged. So already you have a set of utilities that is pretty cool and pretty useful. All compacted here. I think it's brilliant to have all of these things just in this small module. Then what happened? You have the VCO. Let's turn on all the thing. So You have your pitch, of course. You have the VCO that go from a sawtooth to a square. Then you have a pulse wave, that of course works with the square. And this, it can be modulated by the EG here, the envelope generator, or from the LFO. For example, if I set LFO that modulates the pulse width, let's hear it. Or it can be the EG. As you hear, the sound is pretty massive and nice. Then you have your filter section with cutoff resonance, and even in this case, the modulation can happen between the LFO or the envelope generator. So let's put the LFO to hear it, and then here it could be positive or negative. And I think that's it. Then you have your classic ADSR here. Let's remove these. And with this you have basically a single voice with all the basic control. Let's take a look on the patch bay here. So you have the out here, and all the whiter dot, or the whiter label are the out. So you have your out, you have the keyboard out, you have the fold in. So to use the wave folder, you just connect the VCO out into the fold in. We'll listen to that. Then you have many other things from the cutoff on the LFO rate and all the there's a sample and hold, I forgot to mention that it's actually pretty great too. And we can listen a lot of this stuff. For example, let's put the sample and hold in a cutoff. And you know, you can put the sample and hold in an LFO rate, for example, and now you see how that gets more weird, and you can then use it with modulate. And you know, this allows you to have all the weird sounds that I don't ever do. And then, for example, you can attenuate all of the singing. So by itself, it can be a pretty interesting module because it can do a lot of stuff. But of course, what I usually like is to use it as simple as possible. Let's listen also to the fold in. So you send the VCO into the fold in, and now you can fold your sound. Let's remove all the weird stuff, things happening. And here it is. So what you hearing right now, what I think, is just like this is a great canvas to build on top. Sometimes I have other voices that are really complicated with a lot of harmonics, with a lot of tone to it. And while these can go there because definitely it has the Moog sound plus some, I feel it really works well in a sort of minimal ambient palette like this. To just give you an idea of what I would do with this, for example, I can start with this sequence, and then the Usta is pretty interesting. Let me give you a quick rundown. With this button, you say how long each step will go. So basically, each stage, how long it's gonna be. So I can select them all and put like. Right now I decided to make it shorter, and then I can go on the I can go on A, that is my CV that I'm using, and here I can change all the and this is what basically I do with all the other instruments that I have. I like to start with sequences and then just play and change it on the fly. So now, for example, I have 9 stages, each one of 1 step long. And I can decide to make someone longer. For example, I can make the first one and here I have the length of 13 steps, so I can go to 16 if I want to keep it 16 now. What I like playing like this is like I have the way to create a slow-paced music, and I have only the Moog as voice, so I have all the control here. I can play with the filter, but I can decide then to record again on the Morphagene, recording on a new splice, and now I can hear how it's easy to get into some very nice territories. Right now I am having a sort of this drone going here that make my accompaniment, and here I have the Moog. I can also load other reels and stuff, and so these actually can become another voices for this system. But for how I want to use it now, I just want to record the only voice present. And here now it's just a matter of deciding how I want to change these. I can set a lot of randomization and keep getting into interesting places. Then I like to actually play also with Just Friend, for example, and make the Just Friend to mangle the filter of the Moog. Just Friend is one of those, I start grasping its power now, after months. I was going to sell it for many times, but finally I start getting what it really does, and it's pretty cool. You can do that. You can actually then let me play also with my favorite, another my favorite is Zadar. So let's keep some weird things like that. And the out we can modulate, I don't know, maybe the VCA. Now there's these very weird things that modulate the CV of the Moog. So again, we are getting somewhere else, and then we can start preparing something that goes back in a more simple sequence, or we can just go into the Morphagene. What I might add later on, since I just got this other nice module that allows me to play with the external effect, this is from Bored Brain, the Uni Effects, I want to add probably the Strymon Night Sky outside, because that will allow me to have even more texture. But from now I have here the Morphagene, and I can, this is just what Morphagene recorded, and now I can create something else and go back. Another thing that I forgot that I really like is the fact of having the keyboard here. It will change the root of my sequence. So, for example, if I go one octave lower, and it's fun to play with notes. So this allows you to have another layer of performance on your fingertip. I changed the beads mode, so it's a little more. And Costalin can add some other interesting layer. Alright, so without any further ado, conclusion, I really think that Moog made a great product with this one. It's cheap, I don't know, $299 I guess. It's the great entry point for modular and for Moog sound. Because before of this there was the Mother 32, that is another of my favorite. It's how I started with modular, with Mother 32. But this one somehow allows you to have the same kind of vibe that one offered. You have the keyboard, you have a very interesting patch point with an utility section that can be used with many other modules. For example, I don't have any attenuator in this other module, and I can use this as an attenuator, so it's pretty useful. You have a multiple, I mean, I have it here, but you know, it just really offers a lot. So my plan in the future is try to get hold of more of these, and I want to create a sort of Moog Mavis orchestra and try to do some performance with that. But this, I think, it's a very fun way to play. I already recorded a lot of small pieces, and it's a lot of fun. Super simple, super inspiring to me, and get me where I want to go. So, again, thanks Moogs for sending this over. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next week.